Welcome to another edition of No Talking During the Movies. I am your host, Stephen Austin.
I am your buddy and your Uncle Tank.
My Uncle Tank is also Batman, and I am Superman. We may fight sometimes, but most everyone can agree it was awful and nobody liked it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that's that one. Tank, we have, with the lack of WandaVision content, I was like, you know what we should put in instead is a question, because we haven't done a question in a while.
I like that, yeah.
So my question for you this week, Tank, is what is the most rewatchable movie series? As I started rewatching X-Men the other day and some Marvel films, and I was just like, these are such like a hassle to get through. I enjoy them, but they're such a hassle sometimes because there's so many. What's the most like rewatchable movie series to you?
That's a really good question. I could go old school for my answer and say Lethal Weapon.
Ooh.
Because those movies stay good. There's not a huge drop in quality. There is a drop in quality, but what I love about the fourth movie is that they acknowledge that.
There was a drop in quality.
Not
or
in
like
the movie itself, but they're old and they're like they acknowledge that they've lost a step, and so I think that would be one.
Mm-hmm. Before we get off of Lethal Weapon, did I ever how God, it must have been like 2 years ago now, almost. How we did a discussion about Die Hard being a Christmas movie, and how I am thoroughly not on that page, but you are, and you're arguing to me about it. I don't think I ever got the chance to tell you that somebody online officially changed my opinion about that.
Really?
And it has to do with a Lethal Weapon.
Okay.
Because the guy says, I'm showing my kid all these classic action movies, and when we got to Die Hard, I kept telling him it was a Christmas movie, and he kept telling me it's not a Christmas movie. And that was the running joke while we were watching it. Then, a couple weeks later, we're watching Lethal Weapon, and we both realized Lethal Weapon also takes place during Christmas. But his argument was, see, this movie takes place during Christmas, and nobody says it's a Christmas film. But then he goes, that's because Christmas has nothing to do with the plot. If you take the Christmas out of the plot of Lethal Weapon, it's still a solid movie. There are reasons things are happening in Die Hard that work because it's Christmas. Less security because it's Christmas night. All the people are together because it's a Christmas party. He's visiting because it's Christmas.
It's a Christmas, yeah.
So you take the Christmas out of Die Hard, doesn't work. Take the Christmas out of Lethal Weapon, still works. Meaning Die Hard is a Christmas movie. And that changed my opinion on it. I was like, all right, Die Hard's a Christmas movie. That's it.
Well, I made a lot of solid arguments.
You did as well.
I'll take that as a W, because that's absolutely a great point.
You got me on your side now, so yeah take the win.
I'll take that. So yeah.
Speaking of film series that are not easy to go through, Die Hard.
I don't know. I think
there's too many.
They're charming. What is there, 5?
I'm trying to remember. The last one I saw was Live Free and Die Hard.
5. There's 5.
There's 5 because there's one more after that. What was that one called?
The Russian. It was the Russian one. I don't know. It's Die Hardest.
That can't be the name.
That's not right.
That can't be the name.
It might have been Die Harder.
That sounds even worse somehow.
Let's see. I like the one where he goes to get a car battery.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Have you seen that commercial?
Yeah, that commercial. It
might just be called Die Hard.
No, it can't be.
Because I know they do that sometimes.
I hate it when movies do that, by the way. Unless it's a complete reboot, they shouldn't call it that.
Oh my God.
Is it a good day to...
A good day to die hard. Wow.
It's so bad. Like, Live Free and Die Hard is a good title. It was a bad movie. It's a good title.
I didn't think it was that bad.
The only thing I remember from it is that scene where he drives a car into a helicopter. That's the only thing I remember.
See it? Yeah, I did it. I saw
That's right. That's right. Did you see that? I did it.
Okay.
I can't with Die Hard.
I see. I give a lot of birth to I give birth to those movies because I just let them. I let them suspend my disbelief and be silly, and I
Sure.
just, I want them to do that. There was a whole that's a whole genre, and when you're watching those movies, when you're watching Live Free or Die Hard,
Hmm.
you're watching Poison play in 1999. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like it's not the hits anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's over,
Right.
and they'll sneak a new song in on you too because that's what they do. But it's not the same. It's not the same as it was.
Right.
So, but you're still there because you're feeling
Sure.
nostalgic. So it's the same kind of thing.
Can we agree that the most rewatchable Die Hard movies are 1 and 2, and then that's it?
I don't know, man. I think three.
Mm,
I think
really?
three's good.
I'm not a fan of 3. I
Sam
mean,
Jackson.
I thought it was a good ending to like a trilogy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's a fine. It's kind of like how Judgment Day, not Judgment Day. Is it Judgment Day? Wait, what's the name of the third Terminator? Apocalypse? Oh my God, whatever it is.
Garbage.
The third Terminator film has like a good ending for a trilogy.
Right.
Because it's just like, all right, yeah, the ending's never going to be as good. And that kind of works with Die Hard. And then they just kept making more, just like Terminator.
Right.
And,
That's.
we don't need them.
I mean, you talk about a 1-2 punch when you talk about Terminator.
Oh, my God, yeah.
One was good and revolutionary. 2 was great.
Two's one of the best action films of all time.
And then everything else that exists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you got the 2020 version where it was like, being as 2020 as it possibly could.
Well, so I think what I was into about that one is the fact that they're like, yeah, that's right, we're doing a hard R. Sarah Connor can say fuck. You know what I mean? And like
Right.
that's like, okay, sure, because that's like its roots. But also, that's not what made Terminator cool. It's not just because you could see blood sometimes. You know what I
Well,
mean?
but it's also like Terminator's now like, super PC.
Well, yeah, because they
And
gotta.
it's like we found a colorblind woman with a limp to play the Terminator.
But also, can I just say, I love how every Terminator is like, and we got Arnold for this one. And I'm like, isn't Arnold in every Terminator? Like in every
Well, I
trailer,
don't
and
think
it's
he
like,
was in the
here he
Genesis
is.
one.
Genesis. Was that,
I don't know what the third one was. I remember watching the third one going, oh no.
I remember when he showed up in Salvation.
And
And
I
he
don't,
was,
I don't know what that one is. I don't know what any of these are.
that was the Christian Bale one.
Didn't watch it.
Did you ever see the behind the scenes where he's on set with the dude?
I did see that.
That's the most notable thing from that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you doing?
The
Walking
best
through my
performance
set. Don't laugh at me. It's so good. It's so good.
It's funny because like you saw, Tom Cruise lose his mind on people. And I guess I don't know, man. Here's the thing: I would never let a person who's 5'6" or under yell at me.
But
It's
the
just
thing is,
not
like, Tom Cruise.
It's not gonna happen.
I think we talked about it when it happened. You and me both were kind of like, it's almost earned because of the give it the times and everything, and everything's on his shoulders. Sure. Christian Bale, it's like it's just a guy who's not great at his job, and Christian Bale's just not having it today.
But do we even know though? Like he might. Like maybe he was doing the right thing and Christian Bale's just being a dick. I don't know.
I think the consensus is he overreacted, but the guy was like walking through a scene while they were shooting. And that's why he was like, what are you doing?
I've been there and done that. Like I was doing I was hosting if you've ever watched public television, they have these auctions where they auction off stuff to pay for the year.
Oh, sure.
And they have like local radio people come on and host a board and say, all right, first up we have a free massage from Lady Massage. So I was doing that one time. I show up, I start doing my thing. I introduce myself, and then I start to read. And I'm like, yeah, first up on the Z board today, blah 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 blah. And I'm just going to town, and the guy goes, hey, and I look up and he goes, You're standing in front of the table. So I was standing in front of the table where all of the shit was that they were auctioning off. So I couldn't see any of it. And I was,
This gorgeous toaster, and the toaster's like right behind you.
yeah, it's just my whole midsection. Like nobody can see around. It's just all big blue sweaters. So
That's really funny.
So I get it. I get sometimes you make mistakes, but I don't know. There's just I just feel like, especially in a workplace, you raise your voice at me.
Oh sure,
we're gonna be in HR.
Overall,
sure.
It's not needed, but it's also like I said, it's the best thing that came out of Terminator Salvation. So
absolutely.
We were talking about great movies to rewatch, by the way, like great movie series. I love these tangents we get on. You were mentioning that you had other examples, and that's when I cut you off about Lethal Weapon. Did you have anything else for it?
Well, like there's obviously newer stuff. The Marvel stuff. I feel like all that's rewatchable.
Oh, it's rewatchable. It's just I wouldn't put it up there as most rewatchable, because then you still have to get through certain films that are just not great.
And it feels like a lot more of a commitment, actually.
Yes.
Than just here's a couple of movies.
Because I just started a Marvel rewatch again, and I mentioned on a TikTok live the other day that I watched Iron Man 2, and then everybody's like, "Oh, how did that go?" Because nobody likes Iron Man 2, and I was like, I like Iron Man, so I enjoyed it because I just like Iron Man. But I promise I won't have the same sentiment when I watch Thor 2.
My wife was watching the Twilight movies. She was watching the first one, right?
Right.
And I come in the room and I was like, "What is this?" And so I start watching it with her, and it's bad, right? Like it's comically bad.
I think I asked you one night, because you mentioned it to me and my buddy while we were all playing games, and I think I asked something like, Did you enjoy it? And you're like, no.
No, it was terrible. It was really bad. The CGI, it was like the worst CGI. I've seen better CGI, I'm not kidding you, in local commercials in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like the general commercials. You got some gun on that.
Go to General, save some time.
That looks like Jurassic Park next to this movie. So we get through the first one, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I have to know what happens. So we spend the entire weekend watching these shitty movies. 10 hours worth of the worst
10
movies.
hours?
10 hours. There's 4 movies.
I can't believe that.
I know, I can't believe it either. And
because Lord of the Rings is 12, and that's way better.
What's funny is like you get. So, let's say you're starving, right? You haven't had anything to eat in 3 days.
Sure.
And you come up on a garbage can, and you eat garbage. You're not hungry anymore, but you're like, God damn it, I wish I wouldn't eaten that garbage. That's exactly what happens. It's like, I really wanted my time back, but I had to know what happened.
To continue with your metaphor, I also like the idea that you came up to the garbage, you ate like a rotten apple, and you're like, is that pizza crust down there?
Yeah,
and you're exactly, like, better dig through it.
That's exactly what it is. Yes, that's exactly what happened. So I would not recommend that anybody watch those movies or even get started on those movies. Maybe read a synopsis online, because there's no reason to spend your time watching those movies.
Hey, but whose team were you on?
Honestly, I was Team Jacob, really, because
I'm Team Bella, thank you. No, I don't give a crap about those movies.
I was Team Jacob until he fell in love with a baby, and then I was out. And I was like, "You mean to tell me this dog is in love with this baby, and everybody's just cool with it?" Nobody's
perfectly fine. What do you mean cool with it? I've seen the scene where it's Bella walking out, going like, "She's a baby." What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but she got over it pretty quickly.
Twilight.
Also,
ladies and gentlemen,
couldn't act her way out of a paper bag. I mean that.
Hey, she's better now. She's better now. I swear she is.
If her range of emotions were a color palette, she would be dark gray.
It was so
slightly less dark gray.
It was so funny too, because I remember when Twilight was coming out, and I was like, "Oh, it's that girl from Zathura." Did you ever see Zathura?
I like Zathura.
She's good in Zathura. I mean, she's a popsicle for a lot of it, but she was good in it.
That popsicle. That's the most range she's ever had when she was frozen. But I feel like Dax Shepard gets way too much hate. I love Dax Shepard.
Dax Shepard's good.
He's an enjoyable guy to watch.
Yeah.
Chips. I was watching Chips the other day. Did you ever watch Chips?
Who was his
Michael
Pena? That's right. No, I never saw it, but I know what classic Chips is. So when they were coming out with this, I was like, I don't know.
And the new Chips movie is funny. It's really funny.
I should give it a watch.
I mean, it's
look, passable.
Is it Citizen Kane? No, of course not. Is that what you expected? No.
I had an interesting conversation with somebody the other day where they asked me if you were like the first movie that comes in your mind, because I know it's a hard question, like what is the greatest movie ever made? And I was like, I don't think that's easy to answer. You know what I mean?
It's so subjective.
It is subjective, and I think the most like pretentious / I went to film school answer would be Citizen Kane. I've watched Citizen Kane as a huge fan of film. It is groundbreaking for the time, but for a modern audience, like it changes. Time changes, and we have to acknowledge that. Citizen Kane is still a good story, but it doesn't work for a modern audience. The first thing that popped into my mind, and I'm like, this is probably the wrong answer, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. It was Shawshank Redemption.
I mean, that's a good answer.
I feel like it's a solid one. Like a story, by the way, that is like 12 pages in an anthology book that Stephen King wrote, and then they just made like this amazing film off of it.
I can't get over that. I feel like that. I feel like I would say that not a movie that's not only my favorite, but I think transcends my list to be like an all-time great film would be like Dances with Wolves.
Oh, Dances with Wolves, yeah,
Dances with Wolves, or maybe the Last Samurai. I mean, like, if you talk, like, I don't even know how you quantify that, because like, what are we talking?
Because it's all subjective, and it's like
director of photography. Are we talking score? I mean, like, and like even all of that stuff is subjective.
Exactly. And Shawshank Redemption, by the way, is like maybe in my top 5 movies. But when I thought of it, it's just the first thing that I thought of that could maybe be in the category of greatest film ever made. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that's like so weird, because I'm like, it's not my favorite movie. It's not even in my top 3 favorite movies.
I mean, it's
probably up there.
It's wonderfully acted.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Amazingly cast. I mean, like, it's got the components.
Yeah.
But does it speak to you? You know what I mean? Is it like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. I can't wrap my head around people who try to quantify stuff that's subjective, like this, or like art or music. You know, I saw The Weeknd was mad about the Grammys, and it's like, I mean, but like, I could sit here, I hate the stuff they picked for the Grammys.
I was gonna say award shows already. I'm just so done with.
I mean, like, if you want to do an award for the best-selling song.
Right,
you know
right, sure. Something that actually is like numbers match it.
I could put a number to that. I could say, all right, this song had the most sales. This song, or a vote. Put it to a vote to the people.
Yeah, that's why like People's Choice Awards work. You know what I mean? Because it's a voting that everybody can take part in.
But don't just tell me that this is the best movie of the year.
Yeah, because some panel of like 15 people who probably didn't even see it said so. Because that's something they did a report about. Like there are people in the Academy who wouldn't see films, and they would just like send their assistants to go see it and tell them how it was. And I'm like, your job is to watch these for one of the most prestigious award shows in history, and you can't even work up the time to do that. And I think that's how we get some winners like, what was it? The Green Book. You know what I mean?
I didn't see the Green Book, so I don't know.
It's very not for today's age. But
that's the point of it, right?
Well, no, not that it took place in a certain time. It's just like it was another one of those like white savior films when the African-American character was way more interesting than the white asshole who drove him around. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? and it's like he wasn't the main character. It was a bunch of things people were upset about, and I did not really enjoy it either.
This is one of those things like so. Last Samurai, the movie I was just talking about, one of my favorite films. There was like a fervor for a minute about they were talking about whitewashing Hollywood.
Right.
So they're like, they made a samurai a white guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, jackass, that was the point of the movie.
Yeah, literally, you don't understand like the plot.
Went to America to get a guy, and at that time in America, most of the guys were white.
Exactly, like that was the whole point of the film.
Whole point of the movie.
Yeah, it makes sense for that film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. We could definitely go down the rabbit hole for that. My answer.
We should definitely stay away from that kind of conversation.
My answer, by the way, for most rewatchable films, I have two. Back to the Future and because that's one's always super enjoyable. The fact that it all blends together as one big movie for me is evident of how good it is. And I actually said it before, Lord of the Rings. I think Lord of the Rings, like, oh my God, every time I watch that, I discover something new about it, and I cannot get over it.
Lord of the Rings is just too much of a commitment for me.
That's so funny because, like, the last time I watched it, I thought the same thing going into it. Like, I was like, all right, I'll space these movies out. I'll pause when I have to because they're long, and I'll take breaks. And I think I watched all three in 2 days. Like, just because I was so invested in it, and it was so good. I don't know, man. Peter Jackson just knows what he's doing when it comes to directing.
Well, there you go. See, there's another one. Like, how is that? Could that be the greatest movie of all time, cinematically?
Dude, the fact that
the action, the adaptation.
The fact that they gave it to Return of the King for Best Picture that year, when Two Towers is arguably the better film. It's like they kind of gave it to it as like the legacy of like, well, Lord of the Rings is just so huge, so we're giving it to the last one. And I'm like, that's not how it works. That's like acknowledging Terminator 2 for the third one.
What about Jaws? Jaws is the most watchable series.
Like Jaws 15, directed by Steven Spielberg's son. Oh my God, what was his name in Back to the Future 2? It was, I think it might have been like Steven Jr. or like Steven with a V instead of a PH.
Those movies were bad. The first one obviously is classic. 2 wasn't even that bad, but 3 and on.
What was
Wait, what was? Oh yeah, 2 was fine. 2 was fine. That was still.
Was Michael Caine in 5 or 4?
I don't know if there was a 5. I think 4 is where they
4.
stopped.
Okay.
4 was Michael Caine.
And it was called Mario, like Jaws the Revenge, right?
Yeah, Jaws Revenge, and it was on a tropical island. I believe it was Mario Van Peebles.
Oh, that's right.
And Patrick. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of the son, but he's all grossed up, and even though all of his family was murdered by sharks, he still has a job underwater.
Did you see the interview that Michael Caine did, where somebody was like, "So how do you feel about doing like that? You did Jaws 4, like." Have you even seen that movie? And his response was like, I saw the house that it bought me. And I'm like, that's so good.
That's a great answer.
That's so perfect.
Great answer.
I love that, man. Him and every Christopher Nolan film he's in.
That's a good comeback.
I saw the house that it bought.
Yeah. What are you talking about, you journalism school dropout? Yeah, I saw Jaws.
Please ask me again.
I watch it in my theater in my house, which is bigger than...
That merchandising alone bought me.
That was such a bad movie. Oh my God.
Pretty bad.
They gave that shark at the end of the movie. They gave him the old Ursula. They rammed the mast into the shark.
Hey, but if we could talk about one of the greatest films ever made, like Jaws could be up there.
Oh yeah,
I mean, made the summer blockbuster, made people afraid to go to the beach.
Made people afraid in the pool. You know what I'm
saying?
Pool,
like yeah.
And the movie, arguably, the movie that kind of set that up was the movie Orca. Ever heard of the movie Orca?
I think you've brought it up to me before, and I don't think I've ever seen Orca.
It's not a lot of. I don't think I've ever mentioned the movie Orca and somebody saw it.
I think you've mentioned it to me on this podcast before.
It came out in 1977.
Can I also say that I absolutely love they're like one of my favorite shots in film history is in Jaws.
I apologize because Jaws was 1975. So it was kind of
when you said 77, I was like, I'm sure Jaws is before that though.
I don't know why, but I always think that Jaws is later than that. So
I
always
think Jaws ripped off Orca.
Yeah, isn't that stupid?
It's really funny.
It's pretty stupid.
And Free Willy ripped off Jaws. No, stop. No. One of my favorite shots in like film history is in Jaws, and it's when he realizes it's like when people start getting attacked at the beach and they do that like slow zoom in to his face, and at the same time the world behind him like zooms out. You know what I'm talking about? One of the absolute greatest shots, and it's very easy to perform. It's essentially just focusing on his face while you're like getting closer, I think it was, or is it zooming away? It's something like that, and it's very easy to do, but it gives you this amazing visual. And I just remember, like, every time that I see that shot, I'm like, mwah, brilliant.
Well, a perfect score as well to go along with it. Simple and terrifying like a shark. You know what I mean? A shark is a simple yet terrifying creature, and the way that the score kind of
highlights that,
punctuates that. I mean, like you feel it.
I know. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just gonna say, I know I've already like asked like a couple of questions now, but this is also something that came up the other day. Somebody asked, what's your favorite John Williams score? Like, or not even score, just tune, like song, anything from John Williams. Like, and there's so many, it's so hard to say. And I think mine was a tie between Jurassic Park and the Indiana Jones theme. Oh, and then I forgot about Superman, the Superman theme. Like that one always gets me.
I mean, like how many like iconic songs does one person have in him?
All of them. Like all of them are so good.
I gotta go with Binary Moon.
Oh, from or Binary Sun. Yeah. One of the greatest scenes in Star Wars history.
It's so sad, you know what I mean? It's so hopeful. Like it's just every spectrum of emotion is in there.
So good.
And and you so readily associate those with the movies too.
You do. You connect the scene that they're in.
And it changes both things for the better. You know what I mean? The song and the movie.
And adding to that, it makes it so special when the score of Last Jedi, when Luke is dying, it like morphs into that tune as he looks and sees Binary Suns, and he fades away, and I'm just like, it kills me.
And when they killed his legacy.
Stop! Stop! I stand by that now. By the way,
Duel of the Fates is like super underrated.
Have you heard Dave Filoni, the guy who's essentially like the lore master and also a content creator and writer for Mandalorian and Clone Wars and Rebels? Have you heard his analysis on Duel of the Fates? He says the reason why it's Duel of the Fates is because it's the fate of Anakin Skywalker. Because if Qui-Gon wins, he doesn't turn to the dark side. If Darth Maul wins, Anakin doesn't have his father figure. He doesn't have his role model to aspire to be. He gets saddled with Obi-Wan. So it's the duel of the fate of Anakin and the fate of the galaxy, because Anakin being the chosen one. And then somebody else, a fan, always said when they were growing up, they imagined that the chorus singing, because this is the first time a Jedi and a Sith have fought in almost like 1,000 years or so, or like, a long, long time. The chorus is the ghost of the Jedi and the ghost of the Sith singing the fight.
I can't think.
It's so good.
Goosebumps. That's such a good,
isn't it? So, like, the next time you watch that scene, everything will be better, even if it's in Phantom Menace. God, I love it. And then my answer, you know, the reason why I put Jurassic Park up there is not even like I'm an okay fan of Jurassic Park. You know, I think the first movie's perfect in every way. And I even enjoy like both sequels to a degree. I mean, they're not great, but I enjoy both of them. But every time that I watch Jurassic Park, just the theme, it makes me cry just listening to that. And I'm just like, I don't even have a huge connection to these movies, and that just gets me somehow. I don't understand it.
I mean, like, it's very emotional. Like that's why
so good.
That's why in the old days, like people were scared of certain notes. I mean, like they were literally afraid of them because it made them feel things that they didn't understand. You know what I mean? Like Wagner was one of these guys who played and wrote in low keys and people that freak people out. They accuse him of being a devil worshiper.
Oh my God.
And like, you know, they call it the demon note, you know what I mean? Like this is all, that's because music really does influence your emotions in a way
powerful.
that so much other stuff can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This has been a wonderful conversation, by the way.
Yeah, definitely.
You ready to move to some of these not so great trailers?
Yeah, well, talk about a truckload of shit.
Woo! All right, first up, we have one that I told you to watch last week, and when you said you didn't, I said, it's okay. And it's called Voyagers. Tang, what did you think of Voyagers?
I thought it was Euphoria in space with less talent.
Yeah, like, oh my God, why? Like, so much of this was just like, I'm going to say 3/4 of this trailer is just, hey, teenagers like to have sex.
They like to
do it.
It's a style over substance.
Yeah, totally. And then
that movie Nerve.
Yeah. I remember Nerve.
It's the movie Nerve in space.
Yeah.
Starring teenagers who want to do it.
And then just so happens to also star Colin Farrell. And I'm like, damn it, I like you. I like Colin Farrell.
Here's the thing. I want more Colin Farrell in my life.
Yes, he's so good.
Like in that movie, I loved him so much in the movie The Gentleman. Like that, like he was amazing in that movie, and I need more of that in my life. But I'm not gonna watch this garbage.
I've probably already talked about it a ton on the podcast, on this podcast. But my absolute favorite Colin Farrell movie is In Bruges.
It's a great movie.
It's so damn good, and he gives such an amazing performance, and just the music of the. Oh, why is that movie so good? And everybody should see In Bruges if you haven't yet, because that's probably up there as one of my highest recommended films ever.
It's a great movie.
I remember putting it on randomly on Netflix one day, and I think I rewatched it like 4 times that week because I love it so much.
Yeah, it was such a surprise.
It really is, yeah. So yeah, Voyagers, I think, is a no from both of us. Like, it's just like I saw the poster of it and I was like, that looks kind of cool. I watched the trailer and I was like, no, definitely not. Next we have Monday, featuring our boy Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier. And this was another movie that throughout most of the trailer, I'm like, how many times can I watch these people lick each other before getting uncomfortable? Like,
the answer is one.
One, because you see it a lot. Like, what?
It happens a lot.
That trailer is like, hey, you know how Voyagers, like teenagers like to have sex? Adults do too.
Everybody's doing it.
Everybody's doing it.
Of all the movies that will feature, I think this is the only one I would even probably watch.
Really? Of all the ones that we talk about today?
No, in the trailers.
Oh, that's what I mean. In the trailers that we're talking about today?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I probably wouldn't watch it. I like Sebastian Stan.
I do too.
And I think there's going to be good things for him in the future. I don't know who the female lead is.
I didn't recognize her.
She has a very Lori Petty quality to her.
Yeah, I get that.
So I'm interested in kind of, I don't know, it's got a Before Dawn vibe to it. But I'm not super into it.
Yeah, I kind of get that. Honestly, it's just like, I I think by the 3-minute mark of the trailer, because that trailer felt like it was 15 minutes long, I was like, what's the plot of this movie?
Yeah, I kept expecting it to take a turn.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It'd be
It's
like
literally
a horror movie or
the
something.
entire trailer is just like, hey, by the way, these two people have a relationship, and it's like wild, whoa. And I'm just like, okay, all right. Next up we have Them, which seems heavily inspired by, like Get Out and Us, like the Jordan Peele, because it has that vibe of just like creepy air. Like, how can everybody around you make you feel unwelcome?
Now, here's the thing. This is why I put this in the pay no mind list.
Yeah.
Because if it's not officially associated with Us, then it feels like a ripoff.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, honestly, you haven't seen Us yet, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so I thought it was attached to Us until I watched the trailer, and then I realized, oh, it's not Us, it's something else, and then I realized the plot actually kind of mirrors more of the Get Out vibe. And I was essentially waiting for executive producer Jordan Peele, because it has such a Jordan Peele vibe to how it's shot, how it looks, and it's nothing like that. However, it definitely seems heavily inspired, and the premise that I gathered from the trailer was enough for me to be like, this could be cool, until I think they said it was a TV show. And I was like, I don't know if I want to watch a horror TV show.
Yeah, there's not 11 episodes worth of content there.
No.
It seems a lot like an allegory that, obviously one of the scenes you see everybody there at a student's desk in front of what it looks like is an African American family moving into a neighborhood of
like a white suburbia
of all white people in like the 60s, early 60s.
Yeah, it
maybe.
definitely seems of the time where like them being heavily viewed like that kind of makes sense, and like, clearly they're doing the whole like almost like animals in a cage kind of thing, because everybody's just staring and watching, which I'm sure is like way more prevalent for that time and how they were treated and everything. It absolutely was. But also, they're definitely hitting that nail on the head with like some of the shots in the trailer.
They really are they're pounding you over the head with it. Yeah. And then there's in the trailer there's a scene with the minstrel, and I get it and everything like that. It's just if it's not us,
because it seems so heavily inspired.
I mean, like, and
just
to call
name.
it them. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that annoys me. You know
there's
what I mean?
Us,
like,
and then there's them.
Us and them. Like, that would be like a brilliant move. Us and them.
Sure, I agree.
You know what I mean?
And I feel like they might have actually chose that name to associate themselves more with the content. I mean, I could be wrong. It could be a Jordan Peele project, but I don't think it is.
I don't know, man. I just I thought it looked kind of interesting, but I'm definitely not gonna watch a TV show. That's a lot.
Yeah. By the way, I tried to look up Them on IMDb, and it doesn't even come up in the search.
Perfect.
Which is so helpful. I will say that final shot of the trailer definitely gave me like the heebie-jeebies.
Right. It's
10 episodes.
It's a racial allegory. That's also a horror, and that's Jordan Peele's lane. And he made
and there's nothing wrong with people, being inspired and being a part of that.
But there's a difference between being inspired and totally ripping off a guy's thing and making it sound like it's his thing.
I'm looking at like the directors, the writers, the producers, everything, and his name's nowhere near it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, who knows?
I'm actually trying to wait. Like, I'm trying to see if there's like a heavily inspired, but anywhere on it, and it's not there. But I feel it. You can kind of see it. Watch the trailer for yourself, and if you've seen either of the Jordan Peele films, Get Out or Us, you'll definitely get the same vibe. Yeah. Anyways, the next trailer is something that I immediately wasn't even going to put on this list, but then I saw Jeffrey Dean Morgan's in it, and I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and it's a horror film, so I know Tank isn't going to see it, but it's called The Unholy.
It sounds like a bad metal band.
It does sound like a bad metal band. Yeah. But I will say, premise-wise, I'm not a huge horror guy, but can I also say, like, it looks kind of cool, like premise wise.
Absolutely, sure.
Like, I like the plot that they're going with. The idea that it's a girl who can heal people, and she says it's, you know, the spirit of like Mary, like the Virgin Mary. And it looks like it's going to be very like religious heavy and talk about the horrors that can come through that. And Jeffrey Dean Morgan's just a investigative reporter.
There is nothing scarier to me than religious, like scary stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I'm not religious at all, but like I don't know. There's just something about that. You know, like the Angels and Demons and all those. I can't think of the character's name, but the Tom Cruise mullet movies. All those movies.
Tom Hanks mullet movies?
What did I say?
You said Tom Cruise.
I meant Tom Hanks.
Yeah. The Da Vinci Code.
The Da Vinci Code series. That's a good one too. That's rewatchable. But all of that stuff gives me the heebie-jeebies, man, because there's so like there's nothing I want more than to go into the basement of the Vatican and just see what they know.
Well, yeah, sure.
They know some stuff.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
That's a South Park episode, I believe, and they find a giant spider god that they actually worship too. And
was that the one with the bunnies too?
I think it was. It was. I think
the Pope was the rabbit.
I think it was. No. I think that was another one. But no, you know what it was? It was the episode where the priest in South Park is trying to get to the bottom of why so many allegations are coming out about priests and little boys. So he like takes it all the way to the Vatican and like doing his investigating, and they do it very Da Vinci Code style. And then finally he learns like, oh, well, it's actually because this section of the Bible that only certain priests can look at is written by the real Lord and Savior, this giant spider god from space. It's like so ridiculous. I love it. South Park's so funny, man.
Yeah, I just all that stuff is like, because there's like real blood in that history.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it freaks me out. Also, like the occult stuff, I find interesting as well. Like Constantine. Like Constantine's a great movie for that. It's just, you know, like how much of it is like real. Like I'm just super curious. You know what I mean? Because I know that those guys exist that are secret undercover Vatican, you know, spies and stuff like that. It's super interesting to me, and also very scary.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think that is going to do it for trailers. What do you say we get into some of our main topics and news today?
Love it.
All right, so I really wanted to go over this because I wanted to get your opinion on it. And I think I mentioned a little bit to you before, and now we're about to go down the rabbit hole. Zack Snyder, you know, I love him so much. He... Apparently, stuff came out about his Justice League thing. People are now calling it the SnyderVerse, by the way. You know how people all did the hashtag release the Snyder Cut? Now people are doing hashtag release the SnyderVerse. And I'm like, God damn it, stop. Like, this has to stop.
Did we talk about how they accidentally uploaded the...
No, we didn't. To Tom and Jerry?
Yeah, they uploaded the Snyder Cut into the Tom and Jerry spot.
Yeah, so people would like try to watch Tom and Jerry, and they got to watch like 2.5 hours of Justice League of Snyder Cut.
That's pretty wild.
So awesome. The way Zack Snyder intended it, actually.
Probably.
So essentially, the initial plan was going to be a Marvel-style big expansion. You know, DCEU is going to be very much their own thing. But Zack Snyder was very enthusiastic and came up with all of these ideas and essentially this big, long plan that he was going to do for the Justice League movies, giving us Justice League 2 and 3 and a couple of solo movies in between. So, allow me to tell you what Justice League 2 would have been.
Oh, we're really excited about this.
Yeah. Justice League 2 would have had the heroes unite as a team and achieving many different like victories throughout the years. Wonder Woman, using the lasso of truth, remembers her way back to Themyscira, and she becomes the queen. Aquaman manages to unite all the 7 kingdoms underwater. Cyborg and Flash help each other out and get Flash's dad out of prison. And like
Cyborg uploads to Windows 10.
So they actually in this thing that I'm reading, it says he becomes a modern day god of the digital age, otherwise known as Windows 10.
Mark Zuckerberg.
So okay, there are like global tensions or whatever, like the politics of superhero squad, whatever. Very Civil War-y, but other than that, they are prospering. But then we get the Legion of Doom. Lex Luthor recruits Deathstroke.
Yeah, we saw them trying to set that up at the end of...
yes, at the end of the first Justice League. Then he also gets Dr. Poison, who survived since World War I thanks to experimenting on herself. Black Manta and Ocean Master team up, and Captain Cold and the Riddler all show up in this Legion of Doom. And they go on to basically kill most of the heroes. In Justice League 2, Riddler kills himself in front of Batman, which makes Batman make him kill himself because he let a villain die, which doesn't make any sense to me. Dr. Poison would track Wonder Woman to Themyscira and kill her. Black Manta and Ocean Master team up Aquaman and kill him. Captain Cold kills Flash and rips Cyborg in half. And Lex Luthor causes Darkseid to come to Earth. And using Darkseid's power, he actually mind controls Superman, and that's what happens. Yeah.
Ta-da!
Yeah, right.
So what? So then what? Like, what's the third movie?
So you know, the third movie. Hold on, let me get to it. Justice League 3 would have seen a timeline skip ahead of 5 years. That's very familiar. And that's where the nightmare sequences that we see in Batman v Superman. Remember, in that like post-apocalyptic era? That's what that's supposed to be. Okay, Flash didn't die. Sorry, it was Cyborg who died, getting ripped in half trying to save Flash. But Flash runs back in time to try to stop everything, and tells Batman of the past, by the way, Lois lied to you. You're the father of the unborn kid. Because, by the way, if you guys didn't know, Lois Lane and Batman would have an affair, and Lois would get pregnant, and she wouldn't be able to figure out who the father is, Superman or Batman. So that happens. And Flash essentially succeeds in undoing everything, and they go on to stop all the deaths that are going to happen, and then they go to fight Darkseid, and Darkseid's about to do this laser beam that would kill Lois, but because Batman knows that laser beam is going to kill Lois, he jumps in front of it, sacrificing himself. They go on to beat Darkseid, and then it would jump 20 years into the future. Superman has raised this kid with Lois, pretending that it's his kid, and then they're at Batman's like gravestone, and Lois tells the kid, "Hey, your real father's Batman," and then takes him into the Batcave to hint that he becomes the Batman of the future. And that, my friend, is the SnyderVerse.
Wow. Maybe let's not let him do that.
Yeah, maybe let's not release the SnyderVerse. My God, that's awful.
Also, what's wrong with the crisis? What's wrong with the timeline story they have now? I thought that was what? Oh, this guy's delusional, bro.
Yeah, I can't stand him. I can't stand him anymore.
Everybody tries to be. I don't understand why everybody tries to reinvent the wheel when the stories are already told and they're already good.
Yes, yeah, just do the comics. Like, Marvel is really, like, they just found what works and they're sticking to it. I hate that DC essentially said, we could do that. And, like, there are people now going that Marvel copied Zack Snyder's plan And that's why Tony Stark sacrifices himself at the end of Endgame, because Batman would have done it in Justice League 3. And I'm like, you all are delusional.
I mean, they've been setting that up for years. They've been setting up Iron Man for years that he was going to sacrifice himself. It went down to Captain America when they first met. He's like, you're not the guy to make the sacrifice play. And of course,
he does it in multiple movies.
I mean, like, honestly, like, people are exhausting.
Yep. Zack Snyder's exhausting. I'm just done with Zack Snyder.
You're not gonna watch the Snyder Cut?
Oh, I'm absolutely going to watch it just so I can see what a absolute train wreck it is. Look, I will be the first to say if it's good. Like, I will watch it and I will go in with an open mind. I'm not going to go in expecting to hate it. I'm going to go in expecting to see more Henry Cavill Superman, and I'll be happy. Here's the deal. Okay. If this movie is amazing, I will come on this podcast and I would say, hey, I was wrong. It was great. Unfortunately, we won't see anything more with it because they said it's not canon. It's like its own separate thing, whatever. But if it's bad, which I really think it will be, I'm going to be so damn happy.
Why so happy?
Because people were begging for this thing for 4 years. And now that we're finally going to get it, I'm so excited for them to realize, like, oh.
You think it'll be worse than what we've got?
Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, those all were directed by Zack Snyder. And they had a Zack Snyder feel to them.
And they were bad.
However, Justice League was not Zack Snyder. So now that we're going to get Zack Snyder's initial vision for Justice League, that makes me think, okay, this will only be better because it will fit better, but it's still a 4-hour-long movie with a general plot that if they're going off of the same plot that Justice League 1 was, which I'm sure they are, they're just adding a bunch of scenes that'll make more context and blah, 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 it's probably not going to fix much. But overall, I'm sure I'll enjoy it more than Justice League, the original one.
That's fair.
I still don't think it's going to be good. So.
That's fair also.
Oopsie doopsie. Are you going to watch it?
Yeah, definitely I'll watch it.
We're going to review it on this podcast?
Sure, let's do it.
I'm excited for that. We're running out of time, so I wanted to quickly discuss just WandaVision in general.
Dude, I was so sad today because I didn't have a WandaVision.
Yeah, dude, I actually got on games with my friend for a little bit, with Martin, my buddy, and I mentioned to him, I think the only reason why I could do this today is because I realized I don't have to watch WandaVision. Because I had to watch it every single Friday, like right when I got up, and then start, sending topics to you, and then I'd come in here and we would record the podcast, and that's what my Fridays have been for the past 9 weeks. And now that it's not that, I'm like, that's kind of cool and sad because I miss WandaVision.
I miss it too.
Okay, so I will tell you, they came out with something today on Disney Plus called Assembled. Mm-hmm. And it's a documentary show that they are going to add an episode to after every new Marvel TV show release and movie release, where it's going to be an hour-long each, documentary style, of the making of the show.
That's awesome.
And I watched the WandaVision episode today before I came in. And I highly recommend everybody go and watch that because it's so damn interesting.
Sounds good.
For one thing, they were going into depth about how they did like the classic the early sitcom eras and how all of it was filmed in front of a live studio audience. And they actually rehearsed it for those episodes, rehearsed it like a play, just like how they did with the Dick Van Dyke Show. And they brought in a live audience and they performed it in front of a live audience.
Wow.
To make it have that feel, because like their acting was so on par with what would be like kind of performing to an audience kind of deal. You're not performing to a camera, you're performing to the audience. This is a play. And it was just like they go into detail about how important that was for the feel. And that's just the first 10 minutes of this documentary.
That's makes a lot of sense. It does, like, yeah, 'cause they
Right?
really nailed it.
They do, like, everything.
You wonder how they nailed it so well, and that makes a lot of sense.
They go into a lot of detail about all the research they did into like making the cameras look right, making the era look right, how essentially they had one stable set to be the living room, and then they just evolved it with every era. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it was so interesting. They talk about the theme songs and like how there's one specific, the dun 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 WandaVision, how that tune is incorporated in every single theme song and it's hidden in there. And I'm just like, it's so genius. And
yeah, it really is.
The time and effort that they put into this show is so incredible. So I recommend everybody go and watch that. But my question to you, Tank, is do you feel like this was the proper start to Phase 4? It wasn't supposed to be the start to Phase 4, but do you feel like this is like reinvigorating people's interest into the MCU?
I sure think so, man. I know that it was a huge, huge hit, you know, one of the most streamed shows ever.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting theory on, I think it was Screen Crush, who said that the commercials, they did a deep dive on the commercials.
Yeah.
During WandaVision. And one of the things was the toaster. Remember the toaster that they advertising had the beeping, and the beeping was actually the same as the beeping on the bomb.
The bomb, yeah.
So you know, and then the clock, the ticking of the clock, all that stuff. So they're saying that maybe the commercials were Doctor Strange inserting himself into the WandaVerse to try to get her to snap out of it, to remind her.
Interesting.
But
I saw another theory where those were essentially her dreams that she was having.
Could be. I mean, they never really explain it, but
no, they don't.
It was an interesting evolution too, where the first movie the first commercial made it seem like the woman was basically property of the husband.
Right.
And as you move on, the woman become more and more independent in the commercials.
The main character, essentially. And then by the end, it's that Nexus commercial, and it's an antidepressant.
And it's like trying to convince her to go to reality.
Right. And other people have pointed out Nexus essentially means it's connected to everything, basically calling Wanda a nexus to the different realities and stuff. And I'm like, she's very interesting.
Where she's the same in every reality.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's a long way of answering your question of, yes, they absolutely killed it to start it this way. And it was so good. And it's got me so jazzed for like anything that they do in the future. Like, I mean, I before when they announced this, I thought, because I didn't care about Wanda. You know what I mean? Like, I thought she was just a side character.
I was very interested in Wanda, I think, after Infinity War more than I ever was. And this show has propelled her to, you know, leading member status. You know what I mean? Like, she's on par with Thor, Captain America, and Tony Stark now.
Super, super powerful. You know what I mean? Super powerful and super relevant. So it's exciting. Plus, when she puts on that leather outfit, all right.
Somebody also pointed out that what was interesting was Vision was much more of. I don't think damsel in distress is the right word, but he was not he almost needed more saving than Wanda did, which was kind of a refresher, because that's just very unseen. And also, on terms of representation, people have also pointed out that Darcy, Monica, Agnes, Wanda, all of those characters, all of those female characters are very different in their own regards, and all are super enjoyable, which gives me hope that on terms of Marvel writing good character arcs and stuff is getting better with representing female representation, because Black Widow essentially was like to work with the plot in every single movie. How you know what I mean? She was never really her own character, which is exciting for this Black Widow film, because I feel like it's going to be her leading the film.
If we ever get to see it.
They have said they're still on track to make it a theatrical release in May 7th. So depending on how the world is then, Tank, maybe you and me can go see a movie together.
I'm getting vaccinated this
You
weekend. So
are.
maybe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, I would love to see a movie with you after all this time. Remember the last one we saw?
It's the last movie I saw.
Yeah.
At the theaters.
Onward.
Yeah, it was good. I cried like a bitch.
Yeah, yeah, that was rough. I watched Onward for the first time in a long time the other day, and I was just like, oh yeah, I remember why I don't rewatch this movie a lot. Because it makes me a big puddle.
It's hard on the old soul.
Yep, absolutely. Pixar doing its best. So do we see Marvel kind of slowing down anytime soon?
Absolutely not. Why would they?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I remember after Endgame me saying they could stop now and I'd be happy. And after WandaVision now, I'm like, God, I'm happy they're not stopping.
Yeah, they're just gonna just keep printing money. Just do what you do.
Knocking it out of the park.
If you keep making great content, we'll keep watching it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's the deal I'll make with them right now.
And it's working. It's absolutely working. And the last thing I wanted to say was related to WandaVision. Many people were upset by the finale because fan theories that they made did not come true. So there. Well, exactly. There's a very stable line for fan theories where, you know, you can be upset, but also you can't hate so heavily just because something that you thought up of didn't happen. But there is a flip side of that coin that's happening on the internet where people are now saying, ha ha ha, you're an idiot for thinking this was going to happen. I never bought into the fan theories.
Right.
And all I'm thinking there is like, congratulations. Like this is something that, you know, we haven't had a TV show like this where people are theorizing what's going on. It's a mystery. Like we haven't seen this kind of theory stuff going around like crazy since like Lost. You know what I mean? People were going nuts, and it's because of the lack of Marvel that we had in the previous year, the fact that it was a mystery show, the fact that we knew like weird stuff was going on, and everybody was trying to figure out what it all meant. So like fan theories were fine and welcome, but also to rely so heavily on them and be disappointed, that's one thing. To call somebody dumb for wanting to have a cool outcome that they just might have predicted, that's just ridiculous. Because the director of the show essentially said people were going to be upset by the number of fan theories. So I went in
Paul Bettany didn't help that at all.
He did not. And he even said like Paul Bettany dug himself in a hole for that.
Yeah.
Like saying the whole cameo thing. Like people were saying it was going to be like Magneto from the X-Men universe. Like super outlandish stuff, you know. But, you know, it made people happy to think that was going to happen. And I think that's okay.
I like though, like the direction that they take it was good though. Like they didn't. It wasn't like something completely stupid. That's the opposite way. It added up and it was good.
It did.
So I respect that.
Other people have said that. Oh my God, you're a Yanni boy today.
I'm a sleepy boy. I woke up early today.
I was actually gonna say, did you wake up right before we recorded today? So
no,
complete opposite.
I had an early meeting, which I usually don't have. So
no.
I'm a little sleepy boy.
That was relatively it that I wanted to talk about with WandaVision. I'm super happy with how the show did. I recommend everybody watch the assembled episode that just came out. It's a brand new show, so I recommend that everybody actually get to watch it because it's very good. But real quick, because we haven't done this in a while, let's do our recommendations and get out of here because it's been a while since we did our recommendations last. So, Tank, what do you have today for your recommendation?
So I like this movie. It's called Angus.
Angus.
Angus. It's you kind of reminded me of it when you talked about the Shawshank Redemption because it's based on a short story.
Oh.
Angus is based on a short story and a collection of sports short stories. It's about a fat kid who plays football, and he's a nerd, and nobody likes him. But then he gets a date with the popular girl, and the whole thing changes, and it's one of those coming of age movies. It's got Kathy Bates in it, a very, very young James Vanderbeek. I think this is maybe his first movie. Ariana Richards from that's her name. That might not be her name. She's from Jurassic Park. it's just it's a fun, cute movie with a good soundtrack, a good '90s soundtrack. So Angus is what it's called.
Okay, that's definitely different than the normal answer.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Me scrolling down to remember what my answer was. X-Men: Days of Future Past.
What?
That is my answer. X-Men: Days of Future Past. Reason being, wait, hold on. Now I gotta ask, Tank, did you like this movie?
No.
You didn't like Days of Future Past?
No.
That's so funny. Most people love it.
Is that the one with the dude where he's passed out and they're doing his head like this the whole time?
Yeah. Where he goes back in time. You didn't like it?
No.
Tank. We're so similar.
It was so bad.
Because here's the thing. My buddy Martin, I've talked about him multiple times on today's podcast, but you know who Martin is, right? So we're a huge fan of the classic X-Men films. And when Days of Future Past came out, everybody was telling us, both of us, hey, have you seen it yet? And we said no. And they're like, hey, it's great. It fixes everything wrong with X-Men. Like the classic movies. It fixes everything. And we were just like, yeah? And they're like, yeah, it's awesome. So we said, okay. And we rented it. We both watched it together. And we were laughing the entire film. We were making fun of this movie so much.
It's bad. It's so bad.
It wasn't great. The reason why it's my recommendation today is actually, it's not even just the movie itself. It's actually the reason why I watched the movie. Somebody online did a video about how their recommended order to rewatch the X-Men movies would be. You know, everybody's getting more into the X-Men now because they're going to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It won't be these X-Men, but it at least can introduce some people to the characters.
Sure.
So this guy essentially said, here's how I would watch the X-Men movies now. Here's my rewatch. You can skip a lot of the new ones like Apocalypse and stuff, but here's how I would present it. And his order was First Class, so it's a prequel, X1, X2, X-Men Origins Wolverine, so you finally get the full backstory of Wolverine, then X-Men Last Stand, then The Wolverine, then X-Men Days of Futures Past, and then to finally wrap it up, you watch Logan as a final ending to the character.
Or, and hear me out,
you just watch Logan
and Deadpool.
I knew you were going to say that. That was so great.
The X-Men movies are kind of dated at this point.
They are very dated. When I watched the classic ones that I grew up with and loved, I was like, oh boy, I don't.
Credit where it's due. I saw them in the theaters, and I was like, damn, they did this justice.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure they would, because the cartoon was so good.
Yeah.
But like I didn't. The
Nightcrawler scene in X2 that they opened the movie with, so good. To this day, still, it's really good.
Yeah. A lot of the CGI, a lot of the, looks and things like it's very dated, but still good. However, good. But Logan transcends comic book movies to a great movie with incredible performances.
Logan is probably one of the greatest superhero films of all time.
Without question, yeah.
Like, it's up there with, like, The Dark Knight. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm not a huge fan. Like, I'm a fan of the Dark Knight movies, not of Dark Knight Rises. But The Dark Knight itself is just a solid film, and everybody puts it up there. And I think, like, for the first time when Logan came out, people were going, this might beat it, because Logan's just so damn good. We finally get to see Wolverine as Wolverine. Yeah. But the reason why I put Days of Futures Past on there is because of this huge rewatch made me appreciate kind of the history of X-Men so much, because there are some emotional things. Because it had been like almost 5 or 6 years in between Days of Futures Past and X-Men: The Last Stand. And the fact that we finally then got a return to Patrick Stewart, as Professor X, and they kind of celebrated these classic characters again that you just grew up with. It really, like, the emotions were there. There's a scene where even Magneto gets injured, and he looks at Professor X, and he kind of says, like, all of those wasted years we fought each other. And the emotion and just the weight was there because I had just rewatched all the other ones. So the reason why I put X-Men Days of Futures Past on there, even though I don't think it's a fantastic film, I think it's passable. I think you can get through it no problem. I was laughing through it the entire first time I watched it. But with the weight of everything else, it really stood out to me this time. And then I watched Logan, and Logan is just so good. So
have you seen Apocalypse?
I don't plan to.
Woo.
Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix were ones that when the trailers came out, I was like, I don't need to watch that. I don't even like the younger cast all that much anyway, so it's fine for me. Even though Days of Future Past is like, let's throw them together. But all right, I think that's gonna do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching on YouTube and following us on Instagram, all at No Talking During the Movies on there. But I think that'll do it for today. Tank, how are you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good. It's I miss our WandaVision talks, but it's nice to get back into the normal flow of things.
Normal flow next week, buddy.
Back to Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, let's go. So for those wondering, yeah, we're gonna be doing the same recap thing that we did for WandaVision. We're gonna be coming back and doing a weekly recap of each episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and both of us are pumped. So
very excited.
I recommend everybody also watch Civil War before watching Falcon and Winter Soldier if you haven't already, or giving it a rewatch, because that introduces us to many of the characters that we're going to be very, dealing with in this. So that'll be exciting. But that'll do it today. All right. Once again, I am your host, Stephen Austin.
I am your co-host, co-pilot, co-lover, Tank.
And we will love you guys next time. Bye.